Ideal Home was released in 2018. It's written and directed by Andrew Fleming. And we have a cast including Steve Coogan, Paul Rudd, and Jack Gore. And I genuinely don't know what I think about this. I liked it, but I think I liked it because of the cast. Steve Coogan and Paul Rudd are brilliant. I don't think I was familiar with Jack Gore's work, but he was fantastic as well. But the narrative itself, while I like the concept, I feel like the specifics of the narrative were maybe not that interesting. It's about a gay couple, Erasmus and Paul, played by Coogan and Paul Rudd, and one of their grandsons appears on their doorstep. This is a character. Well, I won't tell you the character's name actually because the name changes, so I won't give it away. But he arrives out of the blue as one of them had a one-night heterosexual relationship. He then had a son, and his son is in a bit of a criminal situation. So the grandson now has nowhere else to go. So his grandfather is the next best option, even though he doesn't have a relationship with him. And it's all about Erasmus and Paul getting to know this kid and spending time with him. And honestly, the specifics of the narrative really aren't that interesting. They're not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not that it doesn't make sense or anything. I just found that a lot of it felt very flat. It wasn't really that interesting. But I did like the characters. And I feel like Erasmus and Paul have a very realistic relationship, by which I mean they don't have a perfect, happy, sunshiny relationship. And I thought that worked really, really well. And the grandson had a really great personality. I really enjoyed getting to know him. So the characters and the performances are very good. The overarching concept I really like, but the execution was a little bit flat. Here and there were scenes that I liked, and there were scenes that I just thought were kind of dragging and a little bit slow. So in general, I'd say I liked it, but I am willing to admit that a large part of that is probably because I do like Paul Rudd and I do like Steve Coogan. And I can now say that I like Jack Gore as well. Great performance. Had the casting not been as appealing, it wouldn't have been as good. So thankfully, the cast is appealing and that does work, so that works in the film's favour. But the point there is that I enjoyed it, but not necessarily because of the way the narrative played out. So it was good, but I think not as interesting as it could have been. Or maybe it's a personal preference thing. Maybe I just didn't like a lot of what was being presented. It feels quite creative in some places, which definitely works in the film's favour. The characters are very, very well written. I think the narrative just felt a little bit floopy and scrappy, and I didn't think it was as well written or as well developed or as tight as it could have been. That being said, I'm happy to recommend it. I think Ideal Home is a nice idea. In parts, it's well executed, but what works in the film's favour are the characters and the performances. They definitely really help elevate this film from being, I'd say, definitely above average, but it's not perfect. So yes, I'm happy to recommend it. Ideal Home is not a bad film. It's not perfect, but I enjoyed it enough. The cast and performances are great. And in general, if it sounds like something that you're interested in, I'd say it's worth checking out.